This is a weekend when families come together, sometimes to share things they never have before, which brings us to our first story. A while back, we received a letter from a really special young man. He asked if we would accompany him on a profound journey, one that touches on issues affecting us all, our families and our values, and what happens when the two clash. Tonight we bring you his story.
When we first encountered this young man, he was on the verge of revealing to his family a deep and, for them, a devastating secret. Would they come through for him, or would they turn their backs on him when he was most vulnerable? LYNN SHERR brings you this intimate story, an inspiration for families everywhere.
His name is Jim Butcher. We have only just met him, but already we know more about him than his own family. At 33, Jim is gay and in the advanced stages of AIDS.
What do you know about the course of your AIDS right now?
I know that I've had 2 infections. I know that I feel I still look somewhat healthy, but I know I have no immune system left.
How much time do you think you've got?
It's hard to say because you want to say years, but I would have to say 18 months, 2 years is what I guess I really believe.
With the end of his life in sight, Jim has decided to take an unusual step. He has invited 2020 to be witness to his story, a story that will be easier to understand once you know his family background. In the years since he left home for college and career, Jim has stayed in close touch with his family, regularly visiting his father, mother, and 3 sisters in Dallas. But those visits have been very painful to Jim. His family members are fundamentalist Christians who believe that homosexuality is a sin, so he hasn't told them about himself. Now, despite the risk of condemnation or rejection, Jim has decided the time has come to tell his family everything. He doesn't want to die a stranger to them.
I want my folks to have the opportunity to participate in my life towards the end. I mean, I have dreams of walking along the beaches with my folks at peace.
And why couldn't you have done it sooner?
The pain for them, it's going to be incredible. And
we're using our alcohol pads, huh?
we are.
Good job, good job.
Until last fall, a few months after Jim learned of his full-blown AIDS, he was able to hide his disease from his family. But then he had to have this catheter, which is checked once a week by a nurse at his home in St. Louis, surgically implanted.
I need to give myself daily intravenous infusions of a drug and have a catheter in my chest and tubes hanging out, and that would be very difficult, if not impossible, to do in their presence. And I have to tell him now, if I'm ever to see him again.
You've heard stories, I'm sure, of people with AIDS being abandoned by their families who couldn't handle it. Are you concerned that that might happen to you?
No. No. They could never do that. They could never abandon one of their children. It's just not within them to do that.
So you really believe your folks are going to come through on this?
Oh, not necessarily. It's going to be a clashing of 2 worlds.
Jim's world and the world of his family were not always in such conflict. He remembers growing up in a loving household, living all over the country while his father served in the Air Force. They even spent 2 years in Iceland.
So your memories of childhood are obviously very happy ones.
Oh, they're incredible, yeah. Well, we had a lot of fun. It was great.
When Jim was a child, his entire family was born again and became part of the charismatic Christian movement.
There was a pretty much of an understanding that homosexuality was kind of the worst of all sins, the lowest of the low, that it was a choice people made. If you participated in such things, you were going to hell.
For many years, Jim shared this belief, even deciding to study for a career as a fundamentalist minister.
My hero, like from 12 to 16, was Jimmy Swaggart. You know, I would go and hear him, and I want to be Jimmy Swaggart.
Did you used to practice to be like Jimmy Swaggart?
Oh, yes.
Can you give me an example? Come on, show me show me how you would have done it.
Oh, if I could think of the right words, but I would walk back and forth in the bedroom, and hopefully no one was home, you know, and just, you must be born again, repent from your sin, and walk back and forth, and kind of really get into it.
Did you think you had a mission to do this? A calling?
Oh, absolutely. I was called of God. I've been called into the ministry. That was a big thing with me. And my mom was very proud of that.
But at Trinity Bible Institute in North Dakota, as an honor student preparing for the ministry, Jim was waging a wrenching private struggle over his sexual identity. As a teen, he had begun to develop a secret world because of something that shocked even himself. Jim was attracted not to girls, but to other guys.
I mean, it's the worst possible thing. And I didn't want to know that. I didn't want to believe that. And I would just keep shoving that down into that closet that was within me.
Jim considered his secret temporary because fundamentalist Christians teach that homosexuals can change.
Did you really believe that you could change?
Oh, absolutely. Well, they told me I could. And that was my goal. I could be cured. I could get rid of it.
And so for years he prayed, most desperately at the Bible Institute.
Night after night, I would wait till late, like midnight or 1, when I knew no one was in the prayer room downstairs, and would just cry out to God for change. And for hours, begging God, and then would fast. I'd try to go periods without eating, up to a week.
Can you remember any of the prayers you did?
Yeah, some of them I do. You know, take this evil away from me. I really want to be close to you. Please change me, God. Please help me. And no answer.
So at the end of college, he quietly said goodbye to the ministry. It was a silent yet crushing fall from grace.
Okay, where's everybody at? Are we on page...
In 1984, Jim took a job in Houston as a sales rep for Southwestern Bell, the company he is still working for when we visit. Now his secret world took on a new reality. He began to spend time in the gay world, to date men. And slowly, he began to feel some peace.
I remember the very first dinner party where it was all gay men, and the closet was open. And I could be Jim, which was a wonderful freedom. I remember thinking, this is the best thing that ever happened to me.
In time, Jim came to believe that homosexuality is not a sin. Eventually, he moved in with a boyfriend, Al, but kept this world hidden from his family.
We had separate phone lines, so his mom only had that number, and he was always constantly worried about what was going to be said. He was worried that I was going to answer that phone sometimes.
What were you so afraid of?
I was, afraid they'd totally ostracize me. It was just a panic-stricken fear within me they would ever find out.
During these years, Jim continued to see his family, but discouraged any questions about his private life.
It must have been very painful for you to put up this wall between yourself and the family.
Oh, it's been the worst thing in my life. The hardest thing, the most difficult thing.
One of the loneliest moments came in 1986, when Jim learned he was HIV positive and agonized that he couldn't tell his family.
Especially when the realization came along that unless somebody did some real fast research that, I'm going to die.
On my own.
Jim's best friend, Bonnie Welch, has known his secret. Over the years, she's gone home with Jim so often to visit his parents, she's almost part of the family. They met 10 years ago at work.
We just clicked, and he just became my little friend.
Were you ever romantically involved?
Oh, no.
No.
Bonnie says she knew right off that Jim was gay, and she became something very important, a vital link between his two worlds.
And tomorrow, she'll be running around like nothing happened.
Their friendship has run the gamut, from the frivolous, Bonnie's dog is the daughter of Jim's dog, to the most serious.
Is there anything else that he could be doing?
Jim has granted Bonnie power of attorney over his medical care.
Just finish the bathroom out like we talked about, and then you can drop yourself back to 1-2 daily.
Describe to me what she means to you.
Her love and her companionship have been the greatest gift life's given me. She's the one driving force in my life that's got me through all this.
It is Bonnie who will travel to Dallas to break the news to Jim's family. She volunteered for the job, agreeing to deliver a letter he wrote, a 15-page revelation which abolishes every secret and asks his family for their love and help.
Dearest Dad and Mom, Debbie, Cindy, and Kim, this is without a doubt the most difficult letter I will ever have to write, and most unfortunately, it will probably be the most difficult you will ever have to read. First, the one thing I need to make very clear is how much I love you all, and I never ever wanted to hurt you in this manner. I am gay, and I do have AIDS. Because of your own religious convictions, I wish I never would have to tell you this.
Jim, do you think it's fair to your parents at such a truly horrible moment that you're sending a messenger and a letter rather than being there by yourself?
Maybe not. Maybe not, but it's the only way I can. If I did it in person, the reactions obviously would be strong, and I think the conversation would be too intense for either of us.
There's another crucial facet to this delicate plan. Bonnie will invite Jim's parents to meet him in Seattle 1 week later. He hopes that the beauty of the Pacific Northwest will help start a reconciliation, if they agree to go.
What are your highest hopes for this whole thing?
I guess what I hope most is that they accept the tickets to go to Seattle. And long term, the expectations they come to accept and love me.
Jim's most passionate wish is that his family will set aside religious teachings and accept his belief that homosexuality is not a choice.
Do you want them to come out and say it's okay that you're gay?
I don't even care if they say that. I want them to say, yes, we understand you were created that way.
Why are you choosing to do it on national television?
I don't think it's fair that men are going to their graves like whipped puppies with their tails between their legs, so ashamed of the way they're dying. And I want to make a difference, and I feel a calling in my life to do that.
It almost sounds in an ironic sort of way as if this is the ministry that you were called to.
You know, I've thought that so many times. And because I've never lost that sense of Jim, go out, make a difference. And this time I'm able to do it with such conviction and such a real true belief.
You want this in the car?
The picture, yeah.
And this? No?
It is Friday morning. The time has arrived for Jim and Bonnie to pack for the trip from St. Louis that will change an entire family's life forever.
Great.
Bonnie will fly to Dallas to break the news tonight. Jim will sit out the suspense in Kansas City, his former home with Al, where he still has a wide circle of friends. He says he'll need all the support he can get in the next few days because this brief trip will end nearly a lifetime of hiding.
Okay, I got 3/4 on.
At the airport, during an excruciating delay, Jim anxiously goes over the letter one last time.
We're still going.
Finally, the plane is ready to board.
I've heard the thoughts, this is it. You say goodbye to her, and there's no turning back. You know, you told your folks.
Well, wish you luck, okay?
I do wish you well, Bonnie. Thank you so much.
Bye.
I love you so much. I remember hugging her. My heart was so full for Bonnie, and she's been so wonderful through this.
Love you too. Bye.
Take care. I know she felt the pain of not only me, but of my family.
It is 6:30 p.m. In less than 3 hours, Jim Butcher's family will know who he really is.
Jim has taken a difficult and irrevocable step. When we come back, you will see the reaction of his family. What if your child came to you with a wrenching secret? The dramatic conclusion of LYNN SHERR's story after this.
So for Jim Butcher, the die is cast. The secret he's been living with for so long is about to be revealed to his family. As Jim's friend Bonnie heads out to deliver his shocking and heartbreaking letter to the family, LYNN SHERR brings Jim's story to its unforgettable conclusion.
Friday evening, Kansas City. While Jim Butcher's family learns the truth about him in Dallas, he spends a tense evening with friends who are here to support him.
Well, I can only say I've been nervous, maybe a nervous wreck, only because this is the most important weekend of my life.
Eerily, just at the moment Bonnie is supposed to be reading the letter, Jim bursts into tears. An hour later, he is still in agony.
I know my mom and my dad and my sisters are sobbing at this very moment, and I know they're crying, and I want them to know. I want them to know how much I care. I want them to know how much I love them and how I never wanted this. I never wanted this. I never wanted to hurt them.
The next morning at his friend Al's house, Jim still doesn't know how it's going in Dallas. He isn't expecting a call here because, concerned that the shock might lead them to blurt out something they'd regret, he's arranged for his folks to leave messages on his office machine. Later that day, he calls in.
You know, my heart was pumping and racing, and I guess I cried quite a bit, but I think that was from happiness.
Jim, this is Dad. Pal, I love you. You're my son, Jim. I'm real proud of you. We'll get through this together, buddy. I sure love you. Your mother and I want you home.
Jim's father has come through. Now it seems safe to call home. His mother answers.
She said she loved me. She said, yes, we'll meet you in Seattle.
So far, Jim's delicate plan is working.
We have 7 minutes.
Uh-oh.
A few hours later, he and Al go to the airport to meet Bonnie's flight from Dallas. Jim can barely wait to hear her version of his family's reaction.
You see her?
I just thought, Jim, it is over. It's done. They know.
Oh, my God. Oh, don't cry, Bonnie.
I was so tired and I was so...
Oh, Bonnie.
I was just spent. Delivering this message was by far the hardest, most difficult thing I've ever done in my life.
It's okay.
A few minutes later, Bonnie's exhaustion gives way to exhilaration as she eagerly delivers presents from Jim's sisters.
It's wonderful.
Jim's youngest sister, Kim, has written him a letter.
If we only have 6 months or 6 years, I want to know my brother, Kim.
But for all the good signs, Jim is still nervous, still uneasy about what will happen when he sees his parents in Seattle at the end of the week. How will they ever bridge the enormous differences in their beliefs? And there's a more immediate concern.
You think you're going to be in acceptable health together?
It changes day to day, so I hope so. And if I'm not, I'm going anyway.
Nothing would keep any of them away now. Mary and Fred Butcher arrive in Seattle first, and they try to get through the day. But they're not here to see the sights.
It's tough. There'll probably be a day that we won't have him anymore. And knowing this, you know, I just want to squeeze every moment that we can into just having him near us.
Jim's parents, who have agreed to talk with us because it's Jim's wish, tell me what they've been going through. How startling it was when they heard the truth from Bonnie.
When she got to the part of the letter where Jim told you he was gay and he had AIDS, it must have been just such a shock to you.
I think I said, oh no. Not this. I would say it was the darkest moment of my life, really. I can't remember when I've ever cried like that. I just felt so hurt for Jim.
To say we're not disappointed in this would be a lie. To say we're not crushed by it would be a lie. But our hearts are broken because of the struggle he's having, because of the pain he's having.
But Mary and Fred have not changed their religious conviction that homosexuality is a sin.
To my way of thinking, the mistakes that Jim has made, okay, it's got a heavy, heavy price tag. But that doesn't stop our love.
Well, are you concerned about what's going to happen to him? Because he has sinned?
It does concern me. I mean, he has to make things right with God.
We believe there's a very literal hell, just like we believe there's a very literal heaven, because the Bible teaches that. But I cannot judge a person.
Still, Jim's letter has caused Fred to see a new side to the question of whether homosexuals choose to be gay.
If I read Jim's story to me right, he didn't want this. He never has. I've never seen this before. I always thought, well, they just say this. But Jim is sincere, and I don't really know.
Fred also regrets that his own hostility towards homosexuality cost them precious time.
If I hadn't been so cold and callous towards this issue, Jim might have talked to me about it, talked to my wife about it, and just maybe things would have worked out differently. Maybe in the days to follow, we talk and share each other's thoughts. This is what I'm hoping for.
When Jim and Bonnie finally arrive that evening, they are both eager and wary.
I was really apprehensive to see them face to face. It was almost like what I'd heard throughout the week might not be true. My stomach is just full of butterflies. 3, 4. Yes. It's just, wow. We have to knock. Oh, just come down. Prodigal son? No, not the dog. We brought him, go ahead and go in. We brought them both. Hi. Hi, Jim. Oh, good to see you.
When I put my arms around him, I just felt something I'd never felt before. You know, I have my son. He was awesome.
Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you.
This is the moment Jim has been longing for. A chance to reconnect with his parents as the real Jim. He just can't seem to let go of them.
I didn't have to worry or I didn't have to hide anything anymore of who I was. I could be Jim. It was a great freedom for me and a great feeling for me.
How's your strength?
Okay. It's done, you know, it was a rough week at the beginning, but then I got over it, so.
Oh, it's going to be a good weekend, Jim. I'm looking forward to it.
See, I think this is mystical.
The next morning, we join them on the ferry to the Olympic Peninsula, where they'll spend the day.
You like the water?
Oh, yeah. I think it's always powerful. It's magical.
Yeah.
And being that, I wanted to share it with them, especially since they came through for me.
The magic is already evident in Jim's face. No longer in hiding, he seems, for a moment, carefree. For Fred, the fact that he will lose his son has made him realize how very much he loves him.
He's so alive. He keeps the family going. When he's home, it just seems like it's a different place.
Hello, Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie!
Later, the talk turns more intimate as they dare to confront the unthinkable.
Sometimes I think what it's going to be like afterwards, you know?
Are you scared?
I'm not scared at all, but I'm going to miss. I mean, you'll go on and you'll have Christmases and the girls will be there. I mean, that part's sad. Not seeing the kids, the nieces and nephews. Not seeing that luminous house at Christmas. And the cookies. And the decorations. Oh, Mom, thanks for all those.
At this point, it's not really what's right or wrong. It's happened. He has AIDS. If I come up to him and said, oh, Jim, that's wrong, I'd be injuring, I'd be hurting him. We have to love him. We have to support him.
It is one thing to love your son, quite another to accept everything about him. Theirs is an uneasy peace, especially evident when Mary explains why she thinks homosexuals get AIDS.
In the scripture, any misuse of sex the way God intended it to be used has consequences. We've seen this down through the years.
Jim obviously doesn't agree with you on that.
That's all right. That's all right.
Is that all right with you, Jim?
If she doesn't agree, that's okay. For now, give me time.
We'll have our loving debates, won't we, Jim?
Yes, we will.
All right.
Jim, what's it meant to you this weekend?
They've surprised me incredibly. Mom and I have had times when we've connected. But, with my dad, I felt like his heart was screaming out to me this week. I love you, I love you, I love you. I've never heard that before. It's been great. I've never felt more loved.
I've grown so close to Jim this week, and I said, I could have felt this all along. I really feel that I've fallen short of what Jim wanted me to be, but I feel so great about Jim. And I said, boy, I've missed it.
Do you know the song, the last song by Elton John? It's a song where he talks about, well, the line is, I never knew that a love between a father and a son could be so great. And, I remember hearing that all the time and thinking, gosh, I wish that was true, but that will never happen.
Yesterday, you came to lift me up.
I mean, it's like that song came true.
I guess that is just love between a father.
Dad, I love you so much.
It is the end of a most extraordinary week.
I can never thank you enough for this past week. I love you, Mom. I love you.
How do you want your family to remember you?
What I wish for them to remember is that he tried to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Not the acceptable thing, not the popular thing, but he tried to do the right thing in his heart.
2 weeks after their time together in Seattle, Jim was admitted to the intensive care unit at a hospital in St. Louis, suffering from pneumonia. 3 days later, to the surprise of everyone, including his doctor, Jim Butcher died. But he died with his parents, 3 sisters, Al and Bonnie, by his side.
Oh, Lynn, I remember when we first received his letter, you know, we say, we're in touch, so you be in touch, and he was. But 3 weeks, wasn't the death awfully sudden?
It really was, and Barbara, the family didn't know, the doctor didn't know, and obviously Jim didn't know. If he had had any inkling he was as ill as he was, I know he would have wanted to get in touch with his family sooner. He just didn't realize how quickly it would happen.
What a struggle for the family with their philosophical and religious beliefs. Was the letter the best way to do it?
As it turns out, for this family, yes. You know, I was also struck by the fact it seemed so cold to have a friend deliver the letter, and yet the parents told me this was exactly right, that Jim read them exactly right, and he got to them in the exact right way, and they went along because they thought they might be able to help another family in the same situation.
Well, let's hope it does.
I hope so.
Thank you, Lynn.